and you're gonna wanna sit down for this video.
Unfortunately, as the title suggests, we have made the decision to close Auric.
Welcome to The Palette. This is our first Sunday beauty brief, the biggest creator, brand, and product stories of the week with the receipts separated from the rumors. Today, Samantha Ravndahl confirms that Auric is closing, but leaves most of the reason why off camera. Mikayla Nogueira announces that POV Beauty is coming to Sephora, while one very active corner of the internet reacts before the products even reach the shelves. And e.l.f. Beauty reports numbers for Rhode that make the words influencer brand feel almost too small. Then, at the end, a quick Mac launch radar, no manufactured scandal required. Let's start with the goodbye we did not expect. One creator-led beauty brand is closing, and e.l.f. Beauty has just reported a $27 million day for Rhode. And between those two extremes, a third creator brand is heading into Sephora with a launch date, a stack of campaign footage, and a comment section already trying to write the ending. This is not a story about creators winning or losing. It is a story about what the evidence actually says and what it absolutely does not. Samantha Ravndahl published a video with a title that did not hide the news. I am closing my beauty brand. In the video, she says that she and her team made the decision to close Auric. That is the confirmed center of the story. Auric is closing, and the statement comes directly from its founder. What is not confirmed is a neat, single reason that explains the closure.
I mean, I have a million things to say. I could do an entire separate video on just like a quarter of
That line matters. It tells us there are many reasons, but it does not tell us what those reasons are. When a founder leaves a gap like that, the internet fills it immediately. People start pointing to tariffs, shipping costs, prices, product cadence, the founder's posting schedule, or the brutal economics of running an independent beauty brand. Some of those theories may sound plausible. Plausible is not the same thing as proven. There is no direct evidence in this statement that lets us promote any one of those theories into the official cause, so we will not. The emotional weight comes from the contrast. Auric began with the intimacy that creator brands promise. An audience already knew the founder, understood her taste, and felt invited into the making of something personal. The brand did not arrive as a faceless shelf object. It arrived with a story attached. But that closeness creates a difficult expectation at the other end. When a creator brand closes, viewers do not experience it like a routine portfolio decision. They want the post-mortem. They want the exact moment the math stopped working. They want to know whether the product, the market, the operation, or the relationship between founder and audience changed. Ravndahl is not giving us that full post-mortem here. She is confirming the decision and acknowledging a much larger story behind it. That leaves two honest conclusions. First, visibility is not the same as business transparency. A founder can share years of launches, swatches, packaging, and personal context while still keeping private the financial and operational detail behind a closure. Second, audience intimacy cannot remove ordinary business pressure. A creator may begin with reach and trust, but the brand still has inventory, margins, customer acquisition, fulfillment, retail choices, product development, and timing to manage. None of those is a claim about what specifically happened at Auric. They are the realities every beauty business has to survive. So the clean headline is also the least sensational one. Auric is closing. Its founder says there are many reasons. Those reasons have not been fully disclosed. Anything more specific belongs in the theory column until stronger evidence appears. And that restraint becomes important in our next story, because this time, the internet is not filling a gap after a closure. It is trying to judge a retail launch before launch day. There is a big difference between reacting to a person and evaluating a product. Online, those two things collapse into each other constantly. POV Beauty now has a confirmed Sephora date. It also has an audience debate that is moving much faster than any meaningful product test could. So here is the useful question. What has actually happened, and what are people only predicting?
I just announced to the entire world that my brand POV Beauty is launching in every single Sephora nationwide on September 3rd.
The confirmed news is straightforward. The September 3rd launch is in stores and online, according to Nogueira's direct post and caption. The scale of the campaign material makes the ambition obvious. This is not being presented as a quiet test in one corner of the internet. It is a retail arrival designed to feel like an event. And almost immediately, one large discussion thread in the Sephora community turned sharply negative. That reaction is real as a reaction. It is also limited evidence. A Reddit thread can tell us what the people in that thread were saying at that moment. It cannot tell us what every Sephora customer thinks. It cannot prove that the products perform badly, and it cannot establish that Sephora made a bad commercial decision. The products have not had a normal launch cycle yet. Most potential buyers have not been able to walk into a store, test a formula, compare shades, wear it for a day, or decide whether the price and performance make sense for them. So what are people reacting to? At this stage, much of the energy is attached to the creator, the marketing, and the idea of the brand. That matters. A creator's identity is often the first piece of product packaging the audience sees. It can create demand before a formula is touched, and it can create resistance just as quickly. This is the advantage and the risk of creator-led beauty compressed into one launch. For a conventional new brand, low awareness is usually the first problem. POV Beauty does not have low awareness. Its challenge is converting attention into product curiosity among people who may already hold strong opinions about the founder. The Sephora placement gives the brand something social media cannot: physical trial, a wider retail audience, and the possibility that the product becomes the story instead of the personality around it. But it also raises the standard. Once a brand enters a major beauty retailer, the conversation can move from views and comments to shade range, formula, merchandising, repeat purchase, returns, and whether customers actually reach for it when the next viral launch arrives. That is where a real verdict can begin, not before. There are 3 dates in this story, even if only one appears on the launch graphic. There is announcement day, when attention is loudest. There is launch day, September 3rd, when customers can finally interact with the products. And there is the quieter period after launch, when repeat behavior tells us more than the opening comment section ever could. For now, the responsible reading is narrow. POV Beauty is entering Sephora. One visible online community responded negatively. That response is a signal the brand and retailer will notice, but it is not a product review, a sales report, or a market-wide vote. And if you want to see what the opposite end of this story looks like, when a creator brand is no longer being judged only by attention, but by reported sales at real scale, we need to talk about rhode. Comments are fast. Business evidence is slow. That is why a Backlash screenshot and a sales result should never be treated as the same kind of proof. With POV Beauty, the commercial outcome is still ahead of us. With rhode, e.l.f. Beauty has now put specific numbers on the record. They are company-reported figures, and we should label them that way, but the scale changes this entire conversation. On August 5th, e.l.f. Beauty reported results for the first quarter of its fiscal 2027 year. The company said total net sales increased 36% to $479.4 million. Within that quarter, e.l.f. said rhode contributed approximately $160 million in net sales. Those are not creator code numbers, view counts, or earned media estimates. They are figures e.l.f. presented in its quarterly reporting. They are still the company's own reported results, but they give us a much more concrete measure of scale than social engagement alone. Then came the number built for a headline. According to e.l.f.'s earnings call transcript, rhode's latest summer launch generated $27 million in direct-to-consumer sales on rhodeskin.com in one day. One day, $27 million. By simple arithmetic, that averages more than $1 million an hour across a 24-hour day. That does not mean sales arrived evenly by the hour. It is simply a way to understand the size of the company reported total. e.l.f. also said the launch acquired 90,000 new consumers, while more than 70% of that day's sales came from existing consumers. Those two figures belong together. New customers show the brand can still expand its audience. A large share from existing consumers suggests it is also selling again to people already inside the rhode ecosystem. One number speaks to acquisition, the other speaks to the power of an established customer base. It does not tell us that every launch will repeat this result. It does not tell us the profit generated by that day. Revenue is not profit, and one exceptional launch day is not a full year performance forecast. But it does tell us why the industry has to treat rhode as more than a celebrity side project. e.l.f. Chairman and Chief Executive Tarang Amin went further, saying the company believes rhode could become the fastest beauty brand to reach $1 billion in net sales. The key words are believes and could. That is management's forecast, not an achievement already completed and not a guarantee. Still, companies do not use a billion-dollar frame casually on an earnings call. It communicates the level of ambition e.l.f. has for the brand and the confidence it wants investors to take from the early numbers. This is where the creator brand label starts to feel incomplete. The founder's visibility may have accelerated awareness and desire, but a $160 million quarterly contribution requires far more than visibility. It requires product supply, a functioning customer experience, demand across multiple launches, and an operation capable of converting a cultural moment into transactions. That does not make rhode invincible. Beauty consumers move quickly, novelty fades, and scale creates its own expectations. It does mean the useful question has changed. We are no longer asking whether a creator can launch a real beauty brand. We are asking how large the strongest of those brands can become and whether their early momentum can survive the pressure that comes with the next stage. Put the rhode numbers beside the other stories and the split becomes clear. Auric reminds us that attention and founder trust do not guarantee a brand can continue. POV Beauty shows how a creator's reputation can shape the verdict before customers have ordinary product evidence. And rhode shows what happens when creator attention is converted into company-reported sales at a scale the industry cannot dismiss. These are not 3 steps in one predictable journey. They are 3 different outcomes from the same basic promise. An audience knows the person, so perhaps it will trust the product. Everything after that still has to be earned. Before the final verdict, one lighter launch worth putting on your radar. MAC is extending Glow Play with a new Bouncy highlighter. The official visuals look satisfyingly tactile, but this is a first look report, not a wear test, so let's keep the claims exactly where the evidence allows. MAC lists the Glow Play Bouncy highlighter at $34 in 8 shades. The brand describes it as having a cloud-like putty texture with sheer buildable shimmer. Those are MAC's product claims, not our independent verdict. The visual idea is easy to understand. Glow Play already has a recognizable, bouncy, finger-friendly identity, and a highlighter is a natural extension of that sensory language. In a feed full of nearly identical compact reveals, texture becomes the hook. The 8-shade range also gives MAC room to show different effects rather than one universal flash. What the official footage cannot answer is how each shade translates in ordinary light, how visible the shimmer particles are, whether the base stays sheer across skin tones, or how the finish wears after several hours. Those questions require testing. Until then, the responsible preview is simple. The concept is clear, the price is $34, the range has 8 shades, and MAC is positioning the finish as sheer and buildable. Why include a small product launch after 3 business-heavy stories? Because this is the object all of those systems eventually have to produce. A founder can generate attention. A retailer can generate access. A parent company can report extraordinary sales. but the customer still meets the brand through a formula, a shade, a package, a price, and the decision to use it again. The launch radar verdict is therefore a question mark, not a crown. The tactile visuals are strong, the product claims are specific, performance remains untested here. This week, one creator brand closed, one approached a retail test, and e.l.f. reported a $27 million launch day for Rhode. The tempting conclusion is that creator brands are either collapsing or taking over. The better conclusion is less dramatic and more useful. Visibility can open the door, but it cannot decide what happens after the customer walks through it. For Auric, the full reasons remain private. For POV Beauty, the verdict lies ahead. For Rhode, e.l.f. has put the sales numbers on record, while a billion-dollar future remains an ambition, not a finished fact. Which story should we track next Sunday? The POV Beauty rollout, the next chapter after Auric, or whether Rhode's momentum keeps compounding? Tell me below. This is The Palette, and I'll see you in the next brief.